Hello, everybody. Welcome to the long overdue return of the Why I Love This Artist series. Now, I've done a few of these videos over the last probably 5 months or so. The first one was on the Beatles. Then I talked about Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And then fairly recently, in the fall, I did Bob Dylan. So I kind of stuck to talking about different members of the Traveling Wilburys, give or take. But this is the first episode where I'm going to veer off of that and talk about an artist that probably has meant more to me as a guitar player and a songwriter than just about anybody. And of course, I am talking about this gentleman right here, John Prine. Now, John Prine was a guy that probably didn't get the due that he deserved not until the end of his life. He wasn't one of these guys like a Chris Christopherson or even somebody like a Townes Van Zandt even. Prime was kind of right there with those guys. Chris Christopherson actually wrote the liner notes on John Prine's first album when he saw him in a bar in Chicago. And the thing is with Prime, he was always kind of a black sheep in the songwriting community early on, and probably because a lot of his lyrics were kind of silly, and had a lot of humor in them. And in that part of the early '70s, a lot of those Austin and Texas songwriters were singing about just like dealing with addiction. I mean, guys like Guy Clark or Townes Van Zandt, guys like that, or even guys like Rodney Crowell and early younger Chris Christopherson were writing these just ballads and these just sad tunes. Not that Prine didn't have these songs, but he always seemed like somebody that didn't quite fit into that mold. First of all, Prine was not from the South. He was from Illinois, though he did have Southern roots with his parents having come from Kentucky, which Prine displayed as a badge of honor for most of his career, especially with one of his biggest songs called Paradise, which is almost a love letter to the part of Kentucky where he used to vacation as a boy to see family, but also used it as a social commentary. And that's the thing about Prine that I love so much, is that his songs were so heartfelt, but they were so simple. But then they would, bring in this topic that was just, heartbreaking. I mean, he would do a song like Sam Stone that would talk about addiction for veterans and, people that were overdosing. He would do a song like, Donald and Lydia, which is just about, somebody who's a soldier longing for a love that frankly doesn't really exist. He's just trying to find peace in a terrible situation. Later in his life, he would write songs like Summer's End from his final album, where he was talking about just looking back on his life, and he's just singing about not wanting to be alone. But then he would sing a funny song like Egg and Daughter Night, or a song like Dear Abby from Sweet Revenge, that record, talking about somebody writing into a Dear Abby columnist for the newspaper and just about all their relationship woes. So he's just got this plethora of tunes that run the gamut. And I just want to spend a couple minutes here, even I don't even know how long, 10 minutes, talking about John Prine, maybe 15 minutes, we'll see. I first got into Prime. Well, let me back it up. I first heard Prime probably when I was in early college. Maybe my mom had that original greatest hits that had come out for John Prine. I think it covers like the first 3 albums, maybe 4 albums. So I would listen to that and I would be like okay, that's good stuff. But I mean, one of the things about that greatest hits that I didn't get drawn to was that the songs just kind of went back and forth. Like it was like one song would be like acoustic, like Hello in There, and then he would do a song like Come Back to Us, Barbara Lewis, Hari Krishna Beauregard. which was just goofy. And, there were these electric guitars that didn't make sense with the acoustic guitars. And it's just something about that compilation. I didn't dig into it. I liked a lot of the songs like Dear Abby, but I couldn't fully get behind it. Well, flash forward to college, later in college, I remember really getting into the song Paradise. And I remember specifically, I saw Old Crow Medicine Show in, it would have been like August of 2015, at Elmwood Park in Roanoke, Virginia, with my cousin. And the opener of the show was a guy named Jesse McReynolds, who was a mandolin player, um, who played with his brother Jim McReynolds, and they had a duo called Jim and Jesse, very very famous in the bluegrass world. Well, Jesse was the last of the two to survive, and he opened for Old Crow that night. And I remember he did Paradise, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Um, and then later on, Old Crow came out, did their show. They even sang Angel from Montgomery, which is probably Prine's most popular song, thanks to Bonnie Raitt, who covered it. And then they would sing it together multiple times over the years, live and alternate recordings. And I remember listening to that, and I remember just getting obsessed with the song Paradise. Like, I was listening to the Jesse version. I was finding all these covers. My mom told me, she's like, oh, yeah, I listened to, I knew John Denver's version before I knew John Prine. My mom is a huge John Prine fan. She saw him several times in the 80s, and maybe once in the early 90s. I can't remember. But she was big into John Prine, and she was the one that was like instrumental, 100% getting me into Prine. And she said that she first heard Paradise from John Denver on his Rocky Mountain High album. And he does it a little bit lighter and quicker than Prine. It's a great version. So I remember, again, in college, just when I get obsessed with the song, I'm looking up different versions. I'm looking up cover versions. I'm looking up, live versions by the artist. I'm trying to learn it myself on the guitar. And so that's what I did. I learned Paradise. It's an easy song, one that I play regularly. Almost always, it's the last song that I play live at my gigs when I play live music. And I remember playing that song and I had two friends in college, named Trevor and Shay, and the three of us would get together in some of the music practice rooms. And one of the songs was Paradise by John Prine that we would play. And that was like one of the songs that I brought to the table. And I remember us laughing at the line where he says, the air smelled like snakes that we'd shoot with our pistols. My buddy Trevor would make all these faces, just like he would make it so, he would pull the country out of it. And it was really, 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 really funny. I'll always think of Trevor and Shay when I'm singing that song. And so with that, I went through college, knew a few Prine songs. Again, didn't fully invest into him. Not until it was announced that he was going to come out with this record, which is called The Tree of Forgiveness. This would end up being his final album, put out on his label, Oh Boy Records, which he put out in the 80s, and ended up, signing a few artists to it over the years. It's still a record label out of Nashville, Tennessee. But this came out in 2018. It's hard to believe this album's going to be 6 years old this year. But to me, this is everything that you want in John Prine, you get on this. You get, simple guitar tunes. You get funny songs like, Crazy Bone. You get the heartbreaking ballads like Summer's End. You get a little love song, Boundless Love. You get a fun kind of dancing song called When I Get to Heaven, which is the final track fittingly on this record. And this is my favorite John Prine album. He did not make a bad album. He put out a few kind of middle of the road albums in the 80s, and then he had a couple of covers albums in the 90s and early 2000s when he was kind of on a creative slump. But he was kind of forced back into writing, well, willingly, by his kids and his wife that said, John, you've got like suitcases full of bits and pieces of songs, go make a record. So he made this record. It's got, Jason Isbell is on here, Amanda Shires, Dan Auerbach is all over this record, Brandy Carlisle is on this record, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful record. And I fell in love with this album. It's quick. It's like 30 minutes, but songs like, Boundless Love, again, Summer's End, I Have Met My Love Today, just absolutely just beautiful, beautiful songs. And he was overwhelmed. He said when I saw him live, the one time that I saw him, that he was selling more tickets in his final years than he sold his whole lifetime. I mean, he was filling out venues that he never could have dreamed of at the supposed peak of his prowess. And so I'm very grateful that he got to see a lot of that come to fruition at the end of his life. And it came out so many artists that, owe a debt of gratitude to Prime. Um, these are two records that you should get. It's called Broken Hearts and Dirty Windows, which is a line from his song Souvenirs. And these are tribute albums by artists. I mean, the first one here, you've got Bon Iver, Conor Oberst, My Morning Jacket, Josh Ritter, Justin Townes Earl, the Avett Brothers, Old Crow Medicine Show, Sarah Watkins. Really, really good stuff, and they just covered John Prine tunes. And then in 2021, a second volume came out. This first volume came out in 2010. So here you've got, again, Jason Isbell, Brandy Carlisle, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, Amanda Shires, Tyler Childers, Margot Price, Sturgill Simpson, Emmylou Harris, Iris DeMent, Bonnie Raitt does Angel from Montgomery, Valerie June. Really, really just, it pulls you into the songs, and these artists that all owe, they're kind of all those outlier country singers that, just owe so much to John Prine. And again, it's so greatly influenced my guitar playing, because it's so simple. And John Prine did a interview, I think, with CBS. Yeah, it was with CBS and John Dickerson, I believe. And they were in a guitar shop, and Prine was holding a guitar, and he was saying, he said if they made a guitar with just the first 3 frets, that would be okay by him. And I think that's awesome, because you have, so many songwriters are so worried about, the music aspect of it, that, you forget that it's really, if you're writing songs, like if you want to craft a lyrical piece, the content of the actual lyrics are what's important. That's what you have to work on first. And that's how I write songs. I always write with lyrics first, and then, I scrape together some chords that could fit the words. I think I have some of that, same thinking as Prine, in that, I don't need to have, 100 different chords over 100 different songs. It can be the same 10 chords, in different orders, and you can still get a point across. And to me, that is so validating, as a, wannabe songwriter and a singer. So thank you, John Prine, for that. But I'm going to show you just a couple of quick things here. Like I said, I was able to see Prine. It ended up being one of his last 7 or 8 shows in Roanoke, Virginia. And I got to see him with my mom in November of 2019. And of course, we would end up losing John to that terrible virus called COVID in March, I believe, 2020. He was one of the first people to go. And I remember sitting on my porch, and I was singing the song. Oh, what was it? I think I was singing "Far From Me." I was sitting on our back porch because we were quarantined, and I was sitting on my porch playing "Far From Me." And I remember Mom came out and told me that he had passed away. And I remember I know what the song was. "Unwed Fathers." That was the first song that I would play after I learned that he died. Was his song "Unwed Fathers," which is a beautiful song. But I knew it was coming, but it ripped me apart. It was just like, man, I just seen him, and he was so vibrant. It broke so many people to learn that he had passed away, and that COVID took him. It was the icing on that cake. It was just terrible, terrible stuff. But anyway, let me show just a couple of quick records and a couple of pieces that I have here. This is the first record that a lot of people consider his best. that I was mentioning that Chris Christopherson wrote the liner notes to. It's a beautiful record, even though John hated that cover because he said he'd never sat on a bale of hay in his life. He was from the Midwest. But, I mean, you've got Illegal Smile, Spanish Pipe Dream, Hello in There, Sam Stone, Paradise, and Pretty Good. That's just side of one. And those are all concert staples. Then side two, Your Flag Decal Won't Get You Into Heaven Anymore, Far From Me, Angel from Montgomery, Quiet Man, Donald and Lydia, 6 O'Clock News, Flashback Blues. Just awesome stuff. There are the notes from Christopherson on Atlantic Records. People that want to look at the label there. Just a wonderful record. It plays like a greatest hits. I mean, it's fantastic. Here's a little box set that came out a few years ago. It's called Crooked Piece of Time. It is John Prine's Asylum and Atlantic records from 71 through 80. So you got the John Prine album I just showed. You have his albums Diamonds in the Rough, Sweet Revenge, Common Sense, Bruised Orange, Pink Cadillac, and Storm Windows. Very, very cool. Plus you got a really nice booklet in there as well. So it was a good way for me to fill some of those albums that are a little bit trickier to find on CD. Again, I was showing these. These are some stickers that I have. I went to and I order from Oh Boy Records all the time, which, you know, I've shown this. This was the Oh Boy singles box set that came out late last year. It shows all the John Prine related singles that were released during his lifetime, plus one song that was released posthumously called I Remember Everything. Check it out. It's just stunning. And this is the box set that I received a prized possession in my music collection. And there was a traveling road show that was sponsored by Oh Boy Records back in 2022, where John Prine's, essentially was like a traveling shop that went to different breweries, local breweries, and one of them came here to town, and I invited a friend of mine to go check it out. And we got there, and there was literally just, you know, it was like records under a tent outside in the courtyard of this brewery. There was all sorts of little cool handouts. This was the you know, notice that I got in the mail, which is really cool. So I've kept this as kind of like a collectible. They had stickers like, you know, Vinyl Brews, Oh Boy, Roadshow. I've gotten this sticker as a result of that, and then I get this with just about every order from Oh Boy Records. And that's actually where I got the Tree of Forgiveness record. It was a special color vinyl variant for that Roadshow. But it was cool that you know, they were playing music. They had some John Prine t-shirts and things like that. They had a cutout of John Prine, a cardboard cutout. It was really, really cool to see that in my town. And I pulled these two. This is a CD that came out called Souvenirs. This is from 2000. It was John Prine re-recording a bunch of his tunes acoustically. And it's just really, really beautiful. It was recorded at the Cowboy Arms Hotel and Recording Spa in Nashville. But there's a lot of those songs that I just mentioned. He also does like Fish and Whistle, Christmas in Prison, one of my favorites, Storm Windows, Grandpa Was a Carpenter, which the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band covered, the Late John Garfield Blues, which is a beautiful song. Just check this album out. It's really, really good. You get the older John Prine's voice, and it's just a fantastic listen. I pulled this album. It's called Fair and Square. There's the hype sticker in there. And this was an Oh Boy exclusive that came out on some really cool vinyl. I won't pull that out. But the reason I pulled this record is because he sang the song Lake Marie. Was that from this record? No, it's not from this record. Shoot. Maybe it is. Anyway, it's not from this. But anyway, this is a cool later day record. This was the first record that came out. No, Bear Creek Blues is what I was thinking of. He did that song live. This was the first album that came out after Prine had had his cancer operation. He had really bad cancer in the throat, had surgery, which is why when you see older John Prine, he kind of held his head like this because it weakened his neck. But really, really great record called Fair and Square. Check it out. But no, when I saw Prime, he did the song Lake Marie, which is just a really fun, epic type song. And at the end, he danced off stage, and it was like one of the most like humbling, joyful things to see. It was like literally like it was a very sweet moment that I will never forget. And I remember tearing up seeing this guy in his early 70s, who looked like he was 85, dancing off stage. Just fantastic. I couldn't believe it, that I was able to see him. And again, little did I know that he'd be gone in just a few months. But his legacy remains. I've shown this before. His son Tommy just put out this record last year called "This Far South." I've actually had a few interactions with Tommy on social media, which has been kind of cool. Completely different type of music than his dad, but he's definitely got that spirit in his stuff. This one has his signature on it. Pretty cool. And again, there he is. There, he's in his later 20s, and yeah. So I just wanted to give a few points on John Prine and to honor him. And again, nobody has probably influenced my guitar playing more than John Prine. Definitely not my songwriting. Uh, he's just one of a kind. I quote him often. I sing his songs all the time live whenever I can. And he's one of those guys, again, like Tom Petty, that I can't believe he's gone. He was taken before his work was through, for sure. But anyway, let me know what y'all think of John Prine. I'm sure I'm leaving a bunch of stuff out, but this was all top of my head, and I just wanted to get this out here to you all. So comment below, give me some of your favorite Prine memories. I know my buddy Glenn Kellaway is a big Prine guy. Got to meet him a few times. So anyway, let me know what you think. Please subscribe if you haven't. And in the meantime, y'all be good. Take care. We'll talk to you in the next one. Bye now.